a triune being, the Trinity, had absolutely nothing to do with the creation of Israel and with the redemption of Israel. It gets no glory. Welcome to the One God Report podcast. I'm Bill Schlegel. The episode is called I Am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. That is my name. My glory I give to no other. And then the deity of Christ believer responds, see, Jesus is God. Deity of Christ believers claim that since Jesus has God's glory or was given glory by God, he must be God. Because according to this verse in Isaiah chapter 42:8 and a similar passage in 48:11, God doesn't give his glory to anyone else. Okay, here's the passage in Isaiah 42:8. I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. That's how I'm going to say God's personal name, the Lord. All caps in most English Bibles, it's God's personal name. I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. That is my name. My glory I give to no other, nor my praise to graven images. Now, the deity of Christ claim, it's kind of a philosophical, quasi-rationalistic claim that no one in the Bible makes. I'm a Protestant in the sense of sola scriptura, so if I don't see somebody in the Bible making this claim, I'm a little suspicious. I see and hear this claim a lot, but it's really kind of an end-around claim that eventually, I think we can see, runs into dead ends. For instance, if Jesus is God, why did God have to give him glory? Can God lose his glory and then someone else who is God give it back to him? It leads to all these weird philosophical dilemmas. And again, it's not a biblical claim, and that's why you run into those dead ends. I think this kind of claim reveals a certain biblical ignorance, maybe even a willing ignorance in some cases. It's the kind of claim that reveals a desperate search for some evidence to make Christ into God. Like I said, it's not in the Bible, so it's contrived evidence. Nobody in the New Testament declares, God says he gives his glory to no other. Jesus must be God because he has glory. To understand what Isaiah chapter 42:8 and 48:11 are saying, all we have to do is look a bit at the context of the statements. The statement in Isaiah 42:8, I give my glory to no other, is made in the context of Israel's idolatry. We'll develop the idolatry context more in just a little bit. But first, here are the two main points that I'm going to make. One, God does not give his glory as God to anyone else. Specifically, God does not share his glory with other gods or idols. God will not allow Israel to believe that someone or something else is their God. God warned, I, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, your God, am a jealous God. That's in the Ten Commandments. Second point, God does give glory to others, like the nation of Israel, not to show that these others are God, but to show that the God who gives the glory is their God, the only God. So deity of Christ interpreters miss the meaning of these passages in the book of Isaiah. Let's come back to the first point. God does not give his glory as God to any other gods or idols. The context of Isaiah chapter 42:8 and 48:11 is Israel's idolatry. Yahweh does not give, some translations say share, it's the normal Hebrew word for give. God does not give his glory as God to any other supposed idol or God. The glory in Isaiah 42:8 is specifically my glory, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh's glory, as God. God isn't going to give glory to some podunk idol that Israel thinks might be able to help them. I think that probably most deity of Christ proponents who quote Isaiah 42:8, I don't give my glory to anyone else, He claimed that verse as a deity of Christ proof text, probably can't quote the last part of the verse. My glory I give to no one else. But what's the next part of the verse? And this is Hebrew parallelism, where truth is stated twice using different language. Here's the verse again. I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, that is my name. My glory I give to no other, nor my praise to graven images. That's the point. Israel thought some other idol or made-up god could take some credit for what happened to Israel, or what would happen to Israel. That is, that Israel would be restored. A lot of the part of Isaiah that we're looking at is about God's promise to Israel of restoration. Nope, God says, I'm not going to allow that. Who you are and what happened to you and what will happen to you, that glory does not belong to any other idol or so-called God. Let's just look a little bit at the context, which shows that Isaiah 42:8 is about the God of Israel not allowing what he has done with Israel to be attributed to any idol. No idol gets the glory for working in and through Israel. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh has an exclusive claim upon Israel. I'll turn to Isaiah chapter 42, verse 5. Thus says God, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spread forth the earth and what comes from it, who gives breath to the people upon it and spirit to those who walk in it. I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. I have called you, Israel, in righteousness. I have taken you by the hand and kept you. I have given you as a covenant to the people, a light to the nations, to open their eyes that are blind, to bring out the prisoners from the dungeon, from the prison those who sit in darkness. I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. That is my name. My glory I give to no other, nor my praise to graven images. Behold, the former things have come to pass, and new things I now declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Unquote. Note the personal pronoun I throughout this passage and many others here in Isaiah. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh does not say, we do not give our glory to another. The speaker is one singular self, and this fact alone should debunk the Trinitarian claim. If God were multi-persons, they should have said, we are Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. That is our name. We will not give our glory to another, which is obviously a perversion. But back to the context. The context here is all in the fact that God is not only the creator of the heavens and the earth, but he is Israel's creator. He owns them. They're his people. He's working through them. Everything that's happened to them, everything he's going to say that will happen, it's not because of some other idol or God. The context is idolatry. Verse 17 of the same chapter. They shall be turned back and utterly put to shame who trust in graven images, who say to molten images, you are our gods. God's not going to share his glory with these goofy idols. And we can just sift right through the 40s of the book of Isaiah and see this over and over again. 43:1. But now, thus says Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, who created you, O Jacob, who formed you, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by my name. You are mine. 43:6-7. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, do not withhold. Bring my sons from afar, and my daughters from the ends of the earth, everyone who is called by my name, whom I created for my glory. Unquote. Idols get no credit for the formation and the regathering of Israel. 43:12-13. I declared and saved and proclaimed, when there was no strange God among you, and you are my witnesses, says Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. I am God, and henceforth I am he. There is none who can deliver from my hand. I work, and who can hinder it? Verse 25, I am he. It's not we. It's really puzzling when people go to the book of Isaiah and somehow find a multi-personal God with all of these singular pronouns. I am he who blots out your transgressions for my own sake. So I could go on and on and on. I have a whole bunch more verses here in these chapters of Isaiah that show the whole context. Is God not sharing who he is or what he has done with Israel with any idol? Isaiah 44:6. Thus says Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the King of Israel and his Redeemer, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh of hosts. Besides me there is no God. 45:5. I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. There is no other. Besides me there is no God. This is the point. Forget your idols, Israel. 45:14. Foreigners are going to come and bow down to you. They're going to say, God is with you only, and there is no other, no God besides him, unquote. See the point? God's not going to share his glory with some idol. 45:18. For thus says Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, who created the heavens, he is God, who formed the earth and made it. He established it. I am Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. There is no other. 45:21. Who told this long ago? Who declared it of old? Was it not I, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh? And there is no other God besides me. Turn to me and be saved, all the ends of the earth, for I am God. There is no other. This is the context. There is no other God. God is not going to share his glory with some perversion of man's mind. Maybe just one more. 49:3. You are my servant Israel, in whom I will be glorified. So, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the Father, does not give his glory as God to an idol. God, the Father, does not share his glory to a triune being, which is an idol. Let me put that another way. A triune being, the Trinity, had absolutely nothing to do with the creation of Israel and with the redemption of Israel. It gets no glory. The second point, God does give glory to others, particularly to the nation of Israel and to the Messiah who represents Israel, but also to other human beings. Let me read a couple of verses just to get this idea started, that God does give glory to others. Psalm 84:11. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh gives grace and glory. No good thing does he withhold from those who walk uprightly. Okay, did you hear that? Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh gives glory, kavod. Same word here, where he said he didn't give it to any other idol, kavod. He gives kavod. To whom? To those who walk uprightly. And how about the New Testament? Paul says, through him, that is through the Messiah Jesus, we have obtained access to this grace in which we stand, and we rejoice in our hope of, now listen to this, deity of Christ believer, we rejoice in our hope of sharing the glory of God. Okay, so we see places in Scripture that state that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, God, does give glory to others. Deity of Christ interpreters seem to be ignorant of these Scriptures, or they just ignore them when they make their philosophical claim, I give my glory to no other, Jesus is God. And often the glory God gives is the same word for glory that Isaiah 42:8 says that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh doesn't give to others. In the Greek text, it's almost always the same, both in the New Testament and in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, the Septuagint. So how can that be? Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh does not give his glory to others, but Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh does give glory to others. Well, the answer is not that difficult. The glory that Israel, and we'll see Jesus, the Messiah, and other human beings receive from Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is not evidence that they are God. But like for the nation of Israel, it's a glory received from God that is fitting for them, and is evidence that their God, who gave them that glory, is God. Their glory, that is, the glory given to them, glorifies the one God who gives them the glory. So let's look and see how God gives glory to Israel, and this especially is the focus of these chapters of Isaiah. In these same chapters of Isaiah, God says that He gives glory uniquely to Israel. He does not give glory to any other nation. Actually, the passage in Isaiah 48:11 can be taken that way, that God does not give His glory to any other nation, to no other, as He gives glory to Israel. There's a textual variant. I don't think it's that way. It could be taken that way. I think it's the same where God says He's not sharing His glory with other idols. But it's clear. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh gives His glory to Israel, so that both Israel and other nations can and will know that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is God. In fact, the Scriptures declare that Israel is God's glory. Israel was created for God's glory and to be God's glory. Israel has glory because God gave the glory to Israel. This doesn't make Israel God because God gave Israel glory. The glory is not Israel's innately. The glory was given to Israel by God because of God's goodness and as testimony that Israel's God is God. Let's look again at a few verses in the same section of the book of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 43, 1 through 7, we'll look at a few of the phrases, starting in verse 1. But now, thus says Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, your Creator, O Jacob, and He who formed you, O Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. Called by my name, and whom I have created for my glory, kvodi, whom I formed, whom I have made, unquote. Okay, so God formed Israel for His glory. Israel is to be God's glory. Isaiah 44:23, for the Lord has redeemed Jacob and will be glorified in Israel. Isaiah 49:3, similarly, for you are my servant Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Isaiah 46:13, I will put salvation in Zion for Israel, my glory. Isaiah 55:5, behold, you, Israel, shall summon the nations that you know not, and nations that knew you not shall run to you, because of the Lord your God, and of the Holy One of Israel, for He has glorified you. Isaiah chapter 60, verses 1 and skipping to 19. Arise, shine, for your light has come, speaking to Israel, and the glory of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh has risen upon you. No longer will you have the sun for light by day, nor for brightness will the moon give you light, but you will have Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh for an everlasting light, and your God for your glory, unquote. Isaiah 60, verse 2. For behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the peoples, but Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh will arise upon you, Israel, and His glory will be seen upon you, unquote. The glory of God will be seen upon Israel. Isaiah 62:2. The nations shall see your vindication, and all the kings your glory. Kvodech. Okay, this is the same word. Israel has glory. Okay, so that's Isaiah. That's the context of Isaiah. God is going to give Israel glory. And we see the same theme in the New Testament, that God gives glory to Israel. Luke chapter 2, verse 32. Remember Simeon, that righteous man who desire to see the Messiah. When the baby Jesus is brought to him, he says, "For my eyes have seen your salvation, that you have prepared in the presence of all peoples a light for revelation to the Gentiles and for glory to your people Israel." Unquote. Okay, God gives glory to his people Israel. And here's Paul in Romans chapter 9, verse 4. He says, "They are Israelites. To them belong the sonship, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the worship, and the promises, and the Messiah." Okay? To the Israelites belong the glory. God has shared his glory with Israel. He's given his glory to Israel. And here's another thing. Besides kind of just ignorance, I think there's actually kind of a sublime anti-Semitism to this claim that God does not give his glory to others, because he does. He gives his glory to Israel. The adversary does not want to acknowledge that God gives glory to Israel. And not only to Israel, but to others. Let's look at a few more verses. To the king Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Here's Daniel. Now this is in Aramaic. He says of this king, "O your majesty, you are the king of kings. The God of heaven has given you dominion and power and might and glory." What? God gave to Nebuchadnezzar glory? I thought God didn't give his glory to any other. I guess that means Nebuchadnezzar is God. Think about it. Now, as a representative of Israel, God gives glory to the Messiah. You remember when the Queen of Sheba came and saw all the wisdom and the wealth and the glory of Solomon? Even Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these little flowers. And when Jesus prayed, in John chapter 17, he prayed to the Father, praying for disciples. And he says, "The glory which you have given to me, I have given to them, so that they may be one, just as we are one." Unquote. That verse eliminates a lot of deity of Christ speculation. Here is glory which Jesus received from God. It's not his innately. He received it from God. And he has given the same glory to others, so that they may be one, just as Jesus and the Father are one. John 17:24, he prays, "Father, I desire that they also, whom you have given me, may be with me where I am, to see my glory that you have given me, because you love me." Okay? So the glory that Jesus had, like Israel, was given to him by God. And I think for very similar purposes. Here's what Peter says about the glory of Jesus. 1 Peter 1:21. Quote, "Through him," that's through Jesus, "you now trust in God, who raised him from the dead and gave him glory, so that your faith and hope are in God." Unquote. You see, God is someone other than Jesus, who raised Jesus from the dead and gave Jesus glory, to the praise of God, so that your faith and hope are in God. Matthew 16:27, Jesus says, "For the Son of Man," that's a human being, "is going to come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done." Unquote. So the human person, Jesus, is going to come in the glory of his Father. Hebrews 1:3 says that he, the Son of God, Jesus, is the reflection or the radiance of God's glory. Unquote. Okay, that's like Israel, God's firstborn son, who reflected the glory of God. The glory of God is seen on him. It was given to him so that others will know that the God who gave it to him is God. Jesus said over and over again that the glory, the power, the authority that he has was given to him by God. God gave Jesus glory not to prove that Jesus is God. Rather, the reason that Jesus was given glory is the same reason Israel was given glory, to display that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, their God, is God, the only God. Probably my favorite verse about God giving glory to others is Psalm chapter 8, verses 4 to 6, which is quoted in the book of Hebrews chapter 2, because these scriptures show God's plan and purpose for human beings through the Messiah Jesus. Here's Psalm chapter 8, verses 4 to 6. What is man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you care for him? You have made him a little less than God, and have crowned him with glory and honor. You have given him dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under his feet. Unquote. So Psalm 8 is quoted in Hebrews chapter 2, verses 4 to 5, to describe the glory that God gives to human beings, epitomized by the glory that God gave to Jesus, the Messiah. God has given glory to the human being, the Messiah, Jesus of Nazareth, and put Jesus at his, that's God's, right hand, above the angels. Now, like with Israel, the adversary doesn't want to acknowledge that God has given such glory to a man, exalted him, and put him at God's right hand. To conclude, enough with these philosophical deity of Christ claims that no one in the Bible ever makes. No one in the Bible makes this philosophical claim, oh, God shares his glory with no other? That means Jesus is God. 2 points. 1, God does not give his glory as God to any other god or idol. Yud-He-Vav-He alone is Israel's God. For modern people, God does not share his glory with the Trinity. The Trinity had absolutely nothing to do with the formation and the redemption of Israel. And secondly, God does share his glory with others, particularly human beings. Israel, the Messiah Jesus, are given God's glory so that both Israel and the nations will know that Yud-He-Vav-He, their God, that is, Israel's God and Jesus' God, is God. Psalm 84:11. Yud-He-Vav-He gives grace and glory. No good thing does he withhold from those who walk uprightly. Romans 5:2. Through Jesus we have obtained access to this grace in which we stand, and we rejoice in our hope of sharing the glory of God. What is man that you are mindful of him? You have crowned him with glory. Yishma'u anavim v'yismachu. The humble will hear